But we can detect that the virus is present inside of 40 days, or about 40 days. It's called seropositive. It's not an AIDS class. That's separate. But here, that's the basic idea. Virus needs a living cell to operate. Outside of the cell, it's dead. Now, you can develop, and the virus's goal is naturally to replicate, but it doesn't want to kill the host. What it wants to do is get to a stable state where it can replicate without killing the host. That's what it wants to get to. But that means it has to be inside the host long enough to do that, and eventually it evolves. So the virus is evolving, and so things like the Ebola virus weren't in humans, they're in something else, and we just started noticing that these viruses, were attacking humans in the last, say, 20 or 30 years. Ebola essentially does in 2 weeks what the AIDS virus takes 10 years to do, except it melts everything that isn't bone. Okay, HIV, yeah, well, they call them hot viruses. Hot viruses. Because they weren't in humans before. Wherever they came from, basically, they kill humans. On the other hand, take herpes viruses. Okay? Herpes viruses rarely kill you unless your immune system is compromised. So things like cold sores and genital herpes, etc. There are 13 different kinds of herpes viruses that infect humans. Chicken pox, measles. Okay, some people die from measles. Some people can die from chicken pox if they, like native Hawaiians, etc., etc. People who aren't exposed to those viruses. I mean, native Hawaiians, there were like a couple of million of them. Now they're down to less than 50,000 in a century. From stuff like the common cold, measles, common cold virus. Okay, so that viruses, because they infect cells, and antibiotics work outside of cells and don't penetrate the cells. That's why antibiotics don't work against viruses. All right, so that's the basic concept of, I had to explain viruses before I could get you to meme. So meme is like the smallest unit of replicating thought. It's like a virus of the mind, and it infects minds, and it's communicated by any mode of human communication. Any mode. Come on, stop looking for pictures. Going to work here. Okay, so, like genes, memes combine to become viral ideas. And what I liked about this concept, when I first read it, and I read it in Dawkins' original book about a year after it was published in like 86 or 87. So I first started actually talking about this when I was Churchill High School's drug counselor, and people thought I was crazy. I said, no, there's a book, actually. It makes sense, because here's what's happening. I don't know if you read the newspaper, but this guy, Beau Flynn, just got busted by the cops. Now, his mom was what when I was representing LCC on the local gang task force, and the reason I was representing LCC on the gang task force is because there's a gang problem. But the meme for gangs is, I may have told you this before, okay, the meme for gangs is 80% of the new gang recruits in Oregon are white kids. And they're basically acting out the meme of what the cops used to call black-style gangs, i.e. Crips, etc., Crips and Bloods and Pyrus. But they're middle-class white kids. All right? So the gang literature, the people that study that kind of stuff, not people who are like outreach drug counselors and actually going out of the university and were interacting with gangs, like me, they hadn't caught up to the fact that this was happening. And it had been happening since the early 80s. Okay, when I worked gangs in LA, the West Side Crips were already multiracial back then. So why does a middle-class white kid join a quote-unquote black-style gang? They had no explanation. So I said, memetics. Memes, what's that? Okay, why don't you ask the kids themselves? Let's start there, right? Why are you doing that? Did you ever, what, you need a scientific survey? You could do that, but just ask them. You have to frame the question the right way. So here's what was happening. I told you that story about me walking down 13th and what's up nigger, right? Must be getting old. Okay, I'm walking down 13th Street by the university. 13th and Alder. I hear, what's up, nigger? Being the only black person on the street, I turn around, right? I'm thinking they're talking to me. It's two white kids. So I step to them. What's up with the what's up, nigger? Oh, no, not you. No, really, what's up with the what's... We're talking to each other. This is my homie. I suppressed the laugh. Where are you from? Right? Because if you have a gang member where they got to represent, right? So, where are you from? We're 7-4 Hoover Crips. No, really. Where are you from? Beaverton. Okay, so you got jumped in Portland? Yeah. Okay, so I know there ain't no 74th and Hoover in Portland. And I'm from LA, 48th and Dinker. So I know you're not from 74th and Hoover in LA. So you got jumped in that by somebody who moved, a black guy who moved up from LA to do some work in Portland. Right? Yes. Okay, what do your parents do? Mom's a school teacher, dad's a lawyer. Okay, so why are you in the 7-4 Hoover Crips? You slinging? Well, little. Weed. They won't let us do crack. Okay. Why? It's not the money. Why would you, become part of you? Why would you jump in and be hang with the black gangsters? Why? You don't have to. You're set. You can go to college. Your way is paid. Why would you do that? And the basic translation, I'm cleaning it up. They are alienated from mainstream white culture. It's like it's a protest. And they say, America is whack. I mean, that's the clean part I can say. America is whack. They're hypocrites. They're this, they're that. Okay. And they feel that they don't always understand rap music, though they did style themselves as rapper, but they feel that in rap music, there is a truth that isn't being told in the newspaper or being acknowledged in their parents' home. Their parents don't even relate to their lives, or even they're just playing along with the hypocrisy. So it's like, okay, you are being so you're responding to the meme of what appears to be a protest culture against your parents' values. But even though there's some danger in being involved with that, you're going to go along with it anyway. Okay. That's kind of like your grandparents being hippies and, calling yourself morning water and whatever else, right? Because they're protesting mainstream American culture by becoming faux Indians. I understand that meme. Got it. They go, yeah, how'd you... Look, never mind. I got it. Here's the problem, though. You haven't examined where that meme came from because it has some things that are toxic. So we'll get into that later. But so the idea, that's why they thought I was crazy at OSU. What do you mean, memes? You explain why middle-class white kids are getting into gangs, and this is the cops saying that, not me. You got an explanation for it? Because I've made contact with them, they say it's a protest culture. Or that's not what they say, but you would say that in academese. So why are they running that script? Now, it will be a different script if you're a biker gang running meth. Okay? When I first came here, because I came here in '83, working gangs, and Whitebird asked me, I showed up at Whitebird wearing suit and tie and a briefcase. They hired me anyway. My supervisor had hair out to here and, you know, dirty patch Levi's. And I go, what is this place? We're a collective. Collective? I haven't heard that since high school in Berkeley. Y'all think you Berkeley North here in Eugene? Like, wow. Y'all are deep. They hired me anyway. They asked me, you know, I said, well, I've been working gangs as a drug counselor. They said, well, how do you feel like dealing with mostly white speed freaks? I said, do they come armed? They looked at me like I was crazy. I said, biker gangs are running meth here, right? Free souls, et cetera, though they're not known for their tendency for nonviolence, they're armed. When I was working gangs in LA, you couldn't schedule a Crip or a V13 next to a Culver City. You had to make contact in the field because they would have gang wars in your parking lot or your office. So asking if a known drug-dealing gang member out of prison comes to your agency armed is a reasonable survival question for where I'm from in LA. Oh, but you're Mellow Eugene. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay, so the meme. So, got the idea, memes. They are replicating viral ideas. So memes can be lots of stuff. So, when you get into memes, you then, because just like we have genetic engineering, square tomatoes and GMO foods and, cystic fibrosis therapy crafted into cold viruses. So meme is a virus of the mind which can infect an open mind and begin replicating, just like a cell. As the smallest unit of replicating thought, a meme can have influence beyond its small size. So memes are transmitted through any form of human communication, language, images, art, technology, beliefs, spirituality, religion, drug technology. I mean, I've used this for a lot of things. So once you have, for example, where did crack come from? So understanding where crack came from, even if like Newsweek credits it with certain black people in Newark or whatever, not that I entirely buy that, but whatever. Once you get the idea, the meme of smokable cocaine, then you can have the meme for other smokable drugs. Okay? So right after crack happens, we start seeing ice. So ice is to meth what crack is to cocaine. And then we start having smokable heroin. So you can see memes then replicate and transmit, and whoa, the ideas kind of like spread. And we can also then predict trends by knowing how memes work. So I also want to point out to you, memes do not have to be true. A virus just wants to replicate. So it's either successful or it isn't. And the longer it is within its host, it tries to evolve to be less lethal to its host and be able to replicate. Memes are not true, are true or not true. It doesn't matter whether they're true or not true for them to spread. Okay? They're successful or not. So a lie replicates just as fast as the truth. Actually, in a lot of cases, faster. Okay? So once you understand the concept, then you can detect memes in operation and then cause a few of your own. That's the idea about mimetic engineering. But in order to engineer it, you have to understand what it's doing to you, or what it could do to you, and engineer another result by understanding what the operating beliefs are. Feel free to ask about this if you'd like, because it's a relatively new concept, but I mean, I'm saying 85.
It can be a force for good. Say like
Yeah, it can be a force for good.
Especially with the internet and
Yeah.
Facebook. I mean,
Right.
it can also be bad because you start getting this garbage.
Yeah,
But
right. But understand, I mean, the internet, you know, that car commercial that talks about, yeah, well, they can't, just like the meme that used to be with television, that they couldn't put it on television unless it were true, and about a third of the people believe that in a survey from the 70s through the 90s. People think that just because it's on the internet, it's true too. I mean, that State Farm commercial, there are people that believe that. They're willing to believe anything that goes viral. Hey, the aliens have landed, Obama's an alien, blah, 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 blah. You know, the whole birther thing. I mean, wow. Binders full of women and...
They've made an upgrade now.
Yeah.
They have, because I hear friends all the time say, it was on the internet, it must be true.
Right. Oh, sure. But again, understand where the internet came from. Who knows where the internet came from? And don't say Al Gore. That's a meme.
Came from the military.
Came from the military. Sharing weapons research. So it's a weapon. So it retains some of that in its DNA. So that's why when I'm talking about memes, just like we trace our DNA back to the original bacteria billions of years ago. Sorry for you Christians that think that, you know, it's only 5,000 years old. That's a meme in itself. Okay? 4 billion years ago, not 4 billion, a billion years ago. I actually have it on my iPad, the timeline, but the idea is we still have some of the DNA from the original bacteria and everything between us up to this point, right? So you have to go back to the source of the meme and unpack it to understand what it was built. Gangs arose in a particular social context in response to survival needs in order to become successful. Once they started migrating out of that original context, they adapted, so now you have white kids calling themselves 7-4 Hoover Crips and saying, "What's up, my nigga?" All right, so as an example, isms are mimetic patterns of discrimination. The U.S. Constitution, as an example of meme. So, in the U.S. Constitution, females are less than males. At the start of the Constitution, the founding fathers, we never hear about founding mothers or the founding families. So in the U.S. Constitution, females are less than males. Blacks are 3/5 of a person compared to whites. Rich are more important than poor people. This is also, again, in the Constitution. Okay? All men are created equal does not mean all human beings are equal under the U.S. Constitution as it originally formed. It took all of us basically working to change it, to bring it to its current state, and there's still room for improvement, right? I mean, I'm just saying, Obamacare, the original idea is that if you are a citizen, you have the same coverage as Congress does, whether or not you work. You out of a job, you are still covered. That's not what happened. Okay? They tried actually a couple of years later to pass a bill for homeless vets, because you notice all the homeless vet or people who say they're homeless vets, to give homeless vets health care, because sometimes vets can't get health care because if they had a substance abuse problem that got them kicked out of the military or dishonorable discharge, and many of those dishonorable discharges are for substance abuse. So wait, you get discharged because they don't like you? Well, you might have a substance abuse problem, but if they like you in the military, then you get an honorable discharge. It shouldn't be about whether you like you or dislike you. You served. You developed a substance abuse problem as a result of your service. You should be covered. They tried to pass a law to do that. The Republicans voted it down. Okay, that was another extension of Obamacare.